Hello and welcome to Today Matters. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Pastor Kevin Pagano, and I have the honor of serving as the middle school pastor here at the Rancho campus. Today I want to talk to you about anxiety, and to do that I want to talk about the moon. Have you ever been outside or driving in your car around dusk and witnessed the moon rising and seen how big it is? You're shocked by how big it is. It's so beautiful and majestic. But later that same night you go out and you see the moon high up in the middle of the night sky and it seems small. Well, believe it or not, it is actually a scientific fact that the moon is not bigger when it is rising. It's actually the same size all the way through the night. And no, the moon isn't closer to the earth when it's rising like many people think. So what's going on here? And no, it's not some flat earth conspiracy. This is actually a problem that many people have wrestled with for thousands of years, and it's known as the moon illusion. And there's even debate today about what is actually going on. But one thing is clear, the reason the moon looks bigger when it is rising is because of us. It's our human perception that makes the moon look bigger. One interesting theory is that when we as humans see the moon on the horizon, we compare its size to the earthly things around it, like trees and buildings, and therefore it looks bigger. But when the moon is in the middle of the vast open sky, it looks much smaller compared to heavenly things. This is known as the Ebbinghaus illusion. Okay, so what does the moon illusion have to do with anxiety? Anxiety is when we let problems that we are facing in our life worry us. When we have worries, God wants us to learn to see the problems that we are facing from the right perspective. And that is an eternal perspective, not an earthly one. Jesus in Luke 12 was teaching about worry, and starting in verse 22, Jesus said, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. Life is more than food, and the body is more than clothes." Jesus commands us not to worry about our life, and then goes on to list some earthly things that tend to worry us. And later in verse 32, Jesus teaches us the remedy to worry when he says, "But seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well." The remedy to worry is to turn our focus from the temporary to the eternal. Much of what we find ourselves worrying about in our life is only temporary. Things like money and possessions, even our physical bodies, are just temporary. And in the scope of our life, our lifetime, when we were born and we die, those things are huge and important and all-consuming. But we are called as believers to live in such a way that we view all of our problems in light of eternity. Just like the moon illusion. When we choose to see our problems in our life and only compare them to earthly things, the problems seem huge. They consume our lives and leave us in crippling anxiety. But if we take the problems that we are facing and choose to compare them to the scope of eternity, they seem small. Before I go, I want to do one exercise with you. I want you to imagine with me a YouTube video that somehow, in some way, contains the entirety of eternity. All the way from the beginning when God said, "Let there be light," all the way into eternity. Now, you know that when you view YouTube video, you can see the timeline at the bottom of the frame, and that there's this little red dot that you can move forward and backwards to find your spot in the video. I know there's one right now below me. Now imagine that in the timeline of this imaginary eternal video, you had the task and you had to find your life in that video. Your entire life, from when you were born to when you died. Imagine how impossible it would be able to find your life. You'd be scrubbing that little red dot forever. I know if I was doing it on my phone, my fat thumb would just never find it. Now let's get even more specific. Think about the number one problem that you're facing right now. The number one thing in your life that is causing you anxiety. How hard would it be to find that in the video? You see, thinking about eternity makes our problems seem small and hard to recognize. I pray that today, whatever you're going through, whatever it is that is causing you anxiety, that you would choose to see from an eternal perspective. And that as you do so, the problems that you face in your life would shrink in comparison to eternity. Thank you for tuning in. Be blessed.